Big news out of Chicago last night. Lori Lightfoot, elected mayor of that city yesterday in a landslide. She will become the city's first female African-American mayor. She'll also be the city's first openly gay mayor.
The former federal prosecutor defeated another African-American woman to take over the city's top job. CBS News national correspondent Adriana Diaz tells us about the change Lightfoot is promising to bring to the city.
It was a historic moment in Chicago politics. Incoming Mayor Lori Lightfoot made her triumphant entrance on stage alongside her wife and young daughter.
You did more than make history. You created a movement for change.
Lightfoot was an unlikely outsider who promised to break what she calls Chicago's cycle of corruption.
Together, we can and will finally put the interests of our people, all of our people, ahead of the interests of a powerful few.
In her concession speech, Toni Preckwinkle vowed to work with the new mayor-elect.
The work we've done, the values we fought for, that doesn't end tonight.
Lightfoot is inheriting a long list of challenges. Chicago faces an estimated $250 million budget deficit next year and billions in unfunded pensions, with no clear plan of how to fix it. During her campaign, Lightfoot made police reform a major focus, following outrage over the deadly shooting of black teenager Laquan McDonald by a white police officer.
We can and we will build trust between our people and our brave police officers so that the communities and police trust each other, not fear each other.
All right, Adriana is with us now from Chicago. Adriana, what's been the reaction there? This is a landslide win. What are people telling you?
People are really not surprised, even though this was such a landslide, as you said, Vlad, because this is what we were all expecting. Lori was ahead in the polls, and the results were just overwhelming. She got 74% of the vote. And as the numbers were coming in last night, she kept that giant lead over Toni Preckwinkle. So it wasn't even like it was a close race at any point yesterday. And what's really significant about this is the fact that she was a relative unknown when she entered the race. She is a former prosecutor. She's never held public office. She really wasn't a major player in this race, but she came out able to beat Toni Preckwinkle.
So what was the difference between the two women that were running? How did they differ rather on the issues?
So they both consider themselves progressives, and actually on the issues they don't differ that much. So what it really boiled down to here was their backgrounds. And this is why many people believe that Lightfoot was able to edge out Preckwinkle, even though Preckwinkle was a bigger name, had a lot more momentum at the beginning of this election. And that's because Preckwinkle is a decades-long city official and local official. She was alderman, which is basically a local city council member here in Chicago. She is the president of the Cook County Board. So she is a longtime Democrat player here in Chicago, and she was cast by some as being part of the Democratic machine. And it seems people don't want the machine anymore. People want something new, something different, a change. So Lori Lightfoot comes in. She's a former prosecutor. She was appointed by Mayor Rahm Emanuel to be involved in the reforms at the police department. And she was considered as someone who was fresh, who wasn't part of the establishment, and could change things.
So she is the city's first African-American female mayor. She was also the president of the Chicago Police Board. She's had a lot of experience in local politics in Chicago. I'm curious about police community relations and how they may have played a role in this race, Adriana, because you live and work in Chicago. You cover all the things that are happening in that city. And generally, for those of us who are not from Chicago, when we're talking about Chicago, it's generally around police-related activity.
And both candidates wanted to really focus on that. They made police reforms and reducing violence their #1 priority. They have a little bit of different approaches in terms of how to achieve that. Lightfoot, the mayor-elect, says she wants to meet immediately with the police superintendent to discuss violence reduction, especially as we're heading into the summer, which here in Chicago tends to be when you see the most violence because it's hot, everybody's outside, people are interacting. Pretwinkle, her opponent, wanted to achieve a more holistic approach for violence reduction. So this was a main issue for both women. And both of them really talked about the need to invest in the community. If you come to Chicago, downtown, where we are right now, is beautiful, it's glistening, it's clean, it's prosperous. But when you start going into those neighborhoods, when you go deep into the south side, deep into the west side, where we've done some reporting on violence, there's very little there are resources that are lacking there, buildings that are dilapidated, schools that have been closed. So there's a real resource disparity here in the city, and both women spoke forcefully about the need to invest in the communities, to give the communities as much attention as downtown gets, and that could be a driver of reducing violence.
Adriana Diaz, thank you so much.